You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded.
So it's kind of cute to be back after having opened the show.
Exactly. And how are you both feeling with the show being open?
I mean, I think obviously very... Sorry, that was my chair. Can we redo that? That sounded like I farted really bad. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that.
Not the Glinda chair.
Not the Glinda chair.
Oh,
I'm
no.
embarrassed. It's right if you put that in there, that's fine. It feels really wonderful that the show is open now. I think we had a really extensive rehearsal process. So now that we're open and like living in this show, it's really such a blessing because it's such a good show and it's really nice to share it with Sydney.
You're listening to the Theatre Thoughts podcast, your backstage pass to the world of theatre in Australia and beyond. I'm Justin, your guide through the drama, comedy and pure magic of the stage from the heart of Australia to the grandest stages worldwide. Join us here for enlightening conversations, reviews and behind-the-scenes stories from the artists themselves. Subscribe for your regular dose of theatre inspiration and consider supporting us on Patreon for exclusive content. Follow us on Instagram at TheatreThoughtsAUS and TTPod_official and discover even more over on our TikTok, Theatre Thoughts Australia. So join us as we rise the curtain on a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. Welcome everyone to a very, very, very special episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. I have a returning guest coming onto the podcast today who is a graduate of the Victorian College of the Arts. She's performed in the ensemble of Tick Tick Boom and Cruel Intentions, and she's now bringing the house down as Elphaba in Wicked. It's Sheridan Adams.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then we have a new guest, which I'm so excited to welcome onto the podcast, who graduated from the Queensland Conservatorium of Griffith University with a Bachelor of Musical Theatre. Most recently played Princess Anna in Disney's Frozen. Also performed as Catherine Howard in Six, the understudy for Princess Jasmine in Aladdin, and Sophie in Mamma Mia. And she was the 2018 finalist for the Rob Guest Endowment Award. It's Courtney Monsma.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to both of you about Wicked and also yourselves as well, because I find your careers and who you are as people just fascinating and really, I think it can be a great addition to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, well, Sharon, you've been on before.
Yes.
And to have you in person is great.
It's also kind of funny, like last time, make sure I have my mic when I look at Courtney as well. The last time we spoke was pre-rehearsals.
Yes.
Wow.
Pre-everything,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like almost a different version of Sheridan. So it's kind of cute to be back after having opened the show.
Exactly. And how are you both feeling with the show being open?
I mean, I think obviously very... Sorry, that was my chair. Can we redo that? That sounded like I farted really bad. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that.
Not the Glinda chair.
Not the Glinda chair.
Oh,
I'm
no.
embarrassed. It's right if you put that in there, that's fine. It feels really wonderful that the show is open now. I think we had a really extensive rehearsal process. So now that we're open and like living in this show, it's really such a blessing because it's such a good show and it's really nice to share it with Sydney.
Yeah, it's been very well received, as you would both know, thank God. I was saying to you before, like, I came on opening night, my mum hasn't stopped talking about it, and she was like, oh, are you meeting Elphaba and Glinda today? I'm like, yes, I am, Mum. She goes, oh, make sure you say hi and tell me how good they were. I was like, yes, Mum, I will.
Tell her we said hi, please.
Yes, that is her. And I said to Sheridan last time, it's actually my dad's favourite musical, which is the weirdest thing, because he loves Glinda. And so, like, after the show, the first time it was here, he was like, Glinda, not Glinda. It was just like, oh my God, Dad.
Also my favourite jokes on the show. I revolve around Glinda and Glinda, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I connect with your dad in that way.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess before we kind of get into things, I'd love for you guys to kind of chat about yourselves, really. Like, what's the best things to know about Courtney and Sheridan? What do we need to know? What are the, little tidbits?
Oh, it's nice to be asked that. I would say I'm like a massive weirdo. And I love performing and just like escaping with acting and playing roles. And I'm very grateful to be in the position that I'm in and get to play this amazing role. But I feel like a lot of what I do is part of who I am. So when people ask me who I am, I'm like, performing. I'm obviously lots of other things, but it definitely defines a lot of who I am. And yeah,
That's such a beautiful, honest answer.
It's nice.
thank you.
Things that are good to know about me. My favorite fun fact is that I can't whistle, so we can start
Oh,
there.
really?
I know. I think it could be because I had braces, but let's be honest, I don't think I could whistle before I had braces
Yeah,
either. Also, I think, as Courtney was saying, it's nice to find something that you really, really love, such as music theatre and acting, and then to be doing it professionally. It does feel like a huge bucket list ticking off.
Yeah.
And I identify that with that as well, so it's nice to be living it. I'm thinking about getting a dog.
Oh,
I'm
love
a
it.
huge
What type of dog?
Oh, probably maybe a Groodle.
Groodle.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're just so cute.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Swift and wombats.
So have you got
and
Taylor Swift tickets?
Cannot confirm nor deny.
Oh,
Cannot confirm nor deny.
interesting.
Very, very, very
Don't.
exciting. I really hope it'd be lovely. So huge Taylor Swift fan. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really important to know about
You
me.
know what? I actually was at the cinemas the other night, and the trailer for the Taylor Swift concert came on. And I
There's a
think
trailer?
there was because they're doing the film version of it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have
yeah.
tickets, you can go watch it in cinema.
Oh, well, that's
And
lucky.
I sat there and I went, "All right, that looks pretty good." And I
Oh,
was like, yeah.
and it's nice that it's
Epic.
coming here too, because it was originally only for, I think, the US
Yeah.
market, but now it's
how
coming.
good.
The
Yeah,
movie's coming to
Beyonce too,
Australia.
aren't
Yeah,
Good.
apparently she's going to record her concert as well. So
Really?
Yeah,
There you go. So
lucky.
you're in.
it's
Yes.
all happening.
Well,
but yeah.
I'd love to do our 1 minute theatre thought, if you will. So, Sheridan, you're familiar with this.
Yes.
Some of your answers might have changed. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But essentially, they're just a whole bunch of different questions, which we'll ask in like roughly a minute. And then whatever that comes off the top of your head is your answer. And then we'll go back and we'll pick apart some of your answers and go like, why'd you say that for? What's that answer? And so on, if you're open
Great.
to it.
Cool.
Cool. Alrighty. What has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Mine would be Miss Saigon, because it also
Yes.
is quite recent. I think I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I was just blown away.
At
It
the
was
Opera House,
beautiful.
yeah.
At the
Yeah.
Opera House.
I will also second that, but I'll also
Yes.
say I recently went to New York and I got to see some incredible performances, and I loved Sweeney Todd. I thought the set was
with Josh Groban?
yes, with Josh Groban, and I just thought it was incredible.
Yeah, it's a good one. That was also at the Opera House as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually drove when I was living in the UK with my friends. We wanted to see Miss Saigon, and we couldn't see it in London. It was in Manchester, and we drove there and back on a day. It was like 5 hours drive or something,
Worth
but
it.
it was so worth it. Name a play that left you speechless.
I wonder if my answer is still the same. Network with Bryan Cranston, which I saw in New York when I was there with university. So I think that was around 2019, I believe. And then Gloria comes to mind. Also, I saw that at MTC. Also when I was in third year in 2019. Yeah, they hit me very, very hard.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me realize that, I mean, I love music theatre and I obviously want to do it for the rest of my life, but I also have a calling in doing straight plays as well. I just think some of the storytelling there and the drama I have
Yeah.
not seen in the music theatre realm yet.
I haven't seen many plays, which is horrible, live at least. But if I was changing that to musical, if that's allowed,
Yes,
it would be when I saw Parade recently as
Oh,
well.
okay, right.
And I sat in the cubicle and I bawled my eyes out, and I had to, I think, wait 15 minutes at least until I could leave the theatre.
Right.
It was incredible.
That's insane.
Yeah, it really, I can't stop thinking about it.
Okay, I'll share my one after.
Yeah, please.
So, well, I guess this is a bit of a tough one, but what is a dream role you'd love to tackle?
For me, it's still Jenna and Waitress.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We were talking about this before. I think a dream for me would be to originate a role. That would be
yeah.
a really cool experience, just to like be able to bring my own stuff to a new character.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
But
What is your pre-show ritual?
Mine kind of begins as soon as I wake up now. So I wake up and I steam, and then I don't talk for half an hour, and then jump in the shower, kind of check in with my voice, have a little sing. The acoustics in the bathroom are just chef's kiss. I'll have some food. That's always kind of a staple of my morning and my day. And then when it comes to before the show, I don't have too much. I like to get in a little bit earlier, just set up my dressing room, and then I'm in the chair getting green, and I warm up while I get green. I chat to Jake, and I chat to Kate and Dee, my lovely green team. And then right before I go on, I do my warm-up and I sing The Wizard and I while Courtney is on stage in her bubble. Because
right.
I need to sing that. That song I find, funnily enough, quite tricky. It's used to
straight
be-
off the bat too.
It's straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And after a scene where you're doing a lot of yelling, so I just like to make sure it's all there in my voice, where I might need to kind of focus on if it's not there, and where I need to be a bit more technical for that show or that performance. I go out, I have a Grethers, and then I give I give Gareth a little fist bump before I go on as well. There's like lots of little things with people, but that's mostly my kind of daily ritual.
Interesting. I love that.
There's a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. It's really interesting to see the insight that
For
different
sure.
actors do. Yeah.
I love a routine, like to the point where if my routine changes, I might be like freak out a little bit.
Okay,
It's just part of my brain.
Yeah.
So I always will get in, and I've done this for years now. We'll get into the theatre an hour before the hour call, and I'll do my makeup already. I'll sit there and do my makeup, and that's when I'll do like a slow kind of warm up. And then once my makeup's done, I'll do a nice stretch before our actual warm up, because in the theatre, like as a principal as well, after the hour, you know, you've got people coming in to preset your costumes, your mic's going on. There's not really that time for yourself. And I feel like I always need that alone time to just prepare to like socialize as well, not be around people. But similarly, like when you're performing that night, you think about it throughout the day, and I'll always wake up, and I don't enjoy drinking water, but I will just make myself drink water.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I just I often get, Gatorades, like the no sugar Gatorades, because they're really yummy, and that's my way I'll like intake water, because otherwise I'll be too dehydrated.
Do you drink lots of tea?
I do, but sounds really bad. Sometimes I'm too lazy to boil the kettle.
Fair enough.
It takes too long.
You've got a lot going on.
I know,
You gotta
I
get
know.
in the bubble and get out
But I
there.
do love tea. So yeah, and with Glinda, it's straight off the bat as well. So warming up.
I'm lucky that with our kettle at home, I drink a lot of tea as well in my ritual. But it like boils to a certain temperature. So I understand, like, if you have a kettle that goes to 100, you got to wait, and then you got to pour it out, and then you got to wait for it to cool down.
Technical, isn't it?
I get it.
It's hard life.
Hard life.
And the last question was, which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
I said American Psycho last time, and I still stand by it. But funnily enough, I do love Parade, and I know that's come again recently, but I would love to see it on the larger scale that I'm sure Courtney would have seen on Broadway.
I would say Dear Evan Hansen, but it's just been announced that it is, which is really exciting, and I cannot wait to go watch it, because similarly, that was an experience that I won't forget. And I was sitting next to a gorgeous boy and his mum watching the show, and every time Evan did something, he would grab his mum, and I just was watching that, and it just made me cry. So I was like, it's really special, I think.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
I was
really
really
gorgeous.
excited when that was announced.
Me
It's
too.
like, it's been on everyone's sort of list, and it's like, oh, good, if that can come, that means like something like Hades Down could come. And I'm like, fingers crossed.
Yet
Also,
to see.
Beetlejuice coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
so excited.
That also would be my answer, and alas, it is also coming. So that's
Like that year of Broadway shows all kind of starting to come now. Yeah.
And it'll be lucky for you, because recently announced you guys are going to Melbourne,
Woohoo!
which is great. So, and you'll be very special because you are from Melbourne.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I saw it at the Regent Theatre for the first time. It's where I saw Wicked for the first time. So
Yeah.
the fact
So
that I
going
get
back
to
there.
perform on that stage is wild.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I want to jump back to some of your answers that you had. So I want to talk about Parade for a sec. So what was it about Parade that was so just captivating?
I think, and it's this gorgeous element of being overseas and seeing the performances. They're so nuanced, and it's so real. And I think it was very authentically cast, which I think was super important for that story. The story itself is just heartbreaking, and the portrayals by the actors were just like out of this world. I was witnessing it. Like every single person on the stage was so invested in the story, and it reminded me how important that is.
Yeah.
And it just felt so real, like those cries that you can't hold in.
Yeah.
And I also hadn't seen the show before, or I didn't know the story, so finding that out was really sad.
Yeah.
What are you meant to be
It was,
okay?
I don't know, like it's...
I love that because I saw Cabaret when I was on the West End, and I love Cabaret, but I knew it was like something around World War II and, you know, Nazi Germany, but I didn't know what fully was about. So as you see it slowly unpack and unveil, and I was just like, it's like I was getting scared more and more and more as it was going along.
Yeah.
But that was one of the best productions I've seen in recent years, just because of the staging. They had this tube in the bottom that everyone like came out of, and I was just like, I loved every minute of it. It was so
dark
good.
and
It's incredible. So good. I wanted to ask about your play that you chose. Now, you said the one with Bryan Cranston?
Yeah, Network.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that in 2019, I believe. And similar to what you both were saying, I didn't know Network, I didn't know the storyline, and it's very rare for me to go see something, especially in music theatre, that I don't already know. So I went in blind, and it's based on the film that was written and filmed in the 70s, I believe.
Right, okay.
And it's about just media coverage and sensationalism and capitalism. And it's about this man who's a journalist, a news anchor, and he kind of becomes this kind of messiah figure.
Oh, right.
And it was all filmed via like film TV cameras, and it had screens in the background. So you had Bryan Cranston just filling the stage and the theatre with his performance, but also the nuances of his performance up on the screens. And I mean, spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil it. So if you don't want to hear the end of Network the Play, don't listen anymore for this point. But at the very end, someone ran through the audience with a gun and shoots him.
Oh, wow.
And he is dying. It's Bryan Cranston dying. So, like, obviously, he's a film TV actor. He knows, like, just the reality of it hitting you.
Right.
Like Courtney said, it feels like you're there and it's actually happening. And so blood is pouring out of his mouth and people like are rushing trying to save him. Obviously all fake, all acting.
Yeah, all acting, yeah.
But I had the shakes. And that was how it ended.
Oh gosh.
And I just
no closure.
Yeah, just
Oh,
like
I
I
hate that.
can't believe that just happened.
It's like parade.
And it was similar to Gloria as well. Again, spoiler for Gloria. But Gloria is a play about an office shooting.
Okay.
I went in, I had no idea. The first
gosh.
half is this like tongue-in-cheek, like kind of office comedy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of Act 1, everyone just in front of your eyes. And then the Act 2 is all about the beautiful, well, not beautiful aftermath, but tells the story beautifully about the aftermath and how people sensationalize trauma. And again, another play about media, which I wanted to be a journalist, so
Oh, did you?
seeing a
There you
thread
go.
there. And both of those, I just had no idea that things like that could be portrayed on a stage like that and
Yeah.
really touch an audience and affect an audience in such a visceral way.
Well, the reason I wanted to ask was because I'm interested in whether you think going blind into a show makes like for more visceral experiences than going into something that you know what to expect.
I think there's arguments for both, but I think, for example, having some knowledge of, even with our show Wicked, the knowledge of the Wizard of Oz gives you that like light bulb, and
Yes.
you feel like you know the piece even more.
Yeah.
But then there's also a kind of a wonderful thing of introducing someone to a world at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's like the same thing as people coming back to the same show 30 times in a row.
Exactly,
And it's
yeah.
just this extra special thing, because I think when you get to know something, it feels like it's yours a little bit.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I think you're right, because like the Wizard of Oz kind of gives you that extra depth. Like in the second act, when Dorothy starts coming into the background, and you hear little things like when you're like, "Oh, I stole my shoes, damn girl."
Yeah.
And so people love that because they
Yeah.
go, "Oh, I've always
I know
thought that."
that.
Yeah, and it's that recognition, isn't it?
Seeing
Yeah.
how it's kind of interwoven, yeah. I think some of the best theatre experiences I've ever had are when I had no idea what was going to happen. And I think with a show like Wicked too, it is funny, you're balancing people that have expectations and have an idea of what the show is, which is incredible. But I also really welcome people who've come and who've never seen it and are not necessarily Wicked fans yet, and introducing them to that world. And it's so lovely because they come in and there's no sense of, oh, I wanted Wicked to be like this. They just come in and they're like, that was one of the best things I've ever seen. And it feels really special to be able to chat with those kind of people at stage door as well.
That's
And
so nice.
because I remember seeing it for the first time. And I think the beautiful thing about Wicked, though, is when you listen to the soundtrack, you don't necessarily know what happens.
Yes, yeah, you're just
And-
listening to the music,
yeah,
aren't
and
you? It's not
Stephen
like one of
yeah.
the plot ones.
Yeah.
And
for
Stephen
sure.
Schwartz has taken music out so that you aren't spoiled when you go see it. And there aren't many musicals that do that. So I think, hey, even if you love the soundtrack, you will probably still get a visceral response that
Exactly.
you weren't expecting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick ad break and then we'll talk about Wicked. Okay, let's talk about Wicked then. So, Sheridan, last time we spoke to you, you landed the role.
Yeah.
What was it like when you were first greenified?
Oh,
And
great
you
question.
were on stage, and Courtney, same with you, when you were first in the bubble, first in the outfit, and you like kind of just looked at each other for the first time.
It was really special. Getting green for the first time, I always say it's such a privilege and it's such an honor, and it's something that so many young people who want to play Elphaba, it's something we've always dreamed of and wanted to experience. And you watch YouTube videos of people getting green and all the little behind the scenes documentaries, and so to live it was wild. So I'm very, very grateful that I get to do that every day, and I'm really lucky that I have such an amazing green team. It was quite seamless the first time I got green, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I look beautiful. Like I felt like Elphaba. And you put the little glasses on, the spectacles on, and then you feel more like her before you step out on that stage. And yeah, looking at Courtney and singing For Good, I think the first time, that's when you're really able to take one another in. That's when I was really able to kind of go, oh, I'm green and you're wearing the tiara and the blonde curls and you're in the bubble dress and you got the groomery, and it's happening. And there honestly aren't really words to describe it. It just, you got to live it, and it feels so wonderful and so special.
And I think what I like about Wicked as well is how it goes beyond the stage. Like I keep up with you guys on Instagram and I go, oh, look, they're so like always sharing like, oh, my favorite person and stuff like that. And you always hear about, I might be wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure either Gemma or Lucy asked one another to be the bridesmaids of their wedding. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I might have made that up.
They're very, very close though.
Yeah, but they got close beyond the stage and I feel like that helps with your characters.
For sure. It translates, and the more trust we have with each other, and the gives us the ability to be vulnerable on stage, which I think is that extra special element that makes people believe the connection.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what was it like for you when you were in, outfit for the first
time?
The
outfit, I was like, I personally, I've never been blonde before. So I was like, oh God, and my eyebrows. But it was really surreal. And I just see myself as her. Like I don't see myself as me, if that makes sense. But going up in the bubble for the first time, I didn't realize how high it went. I was like, what?
I was just about to ask, are you a heights person?
Well, I'm not necessarily scared of heights, but I'm just scared of being scared.
Yeah,
so I didn't know how my body would react, but it was actually kind of cool because it gives you this sense of power for the character, which really helps. But sometimes I'm like wearing this beautiful dress and I get handed my little fairy wand. I'm like, what is life? This is crazy right now. And then I head off in the bubble and I'm looking down and I'm like, this is what Glinda, she's looking down on the people, and it makes the story so easy to tell.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What is it about Wicked that is like, pardon the pun, very popular about it? What keeps bringing everyone back to it?
I think it's timeless, and I think it's so relatable to any time that it comes back to. And it's unlike most shows, it's not really set in an era or a time, and which means it's really hard for it to, I think, be outdated. And the themes are so relevant always. Yeah. The score is incredible, and I think. Also, luckily, they're recasting these roles, so you get to see new interpretations of them, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the show is also just so good. Yeah. It's just such a good show, and I think great art and great theatre lives on, and they become classics, and it becomes a timeless piece just through how wonderful it really is. And then one thing that I've loved discovering with Courtney and throughout the show and throughout the rehearsal process is the story between Elphaba and Glinda and the friendship between these two women, because it's not depicted in the media as much as I would have thought.
Yeah, right.
It's such a special friendship and relationship that's told, and the way it grows and the journey they both go on. It doesn't feel trivial or it just, what's the word? It's just told with such depth and truth, and to be able to portray that on stage. And I think that's one of the messages that kind of lives on. It's the beautiful relationship that these two women have.
Yeah. It's not like, I was trying, because I remember when I saw it and I was trying to write my review of it, I didn't want it to come from like an angle, because I've seen Wicked like multiple times, and I was trying to think of like a new angle to take it in. And I was thinking like, what other musicals, how many musicals are there that has that friendship, that female lead friendship? There's not many, that you can think of. And it's also so technically sung, because it was something you said earlier about you preparing for The Wizard and I. And I did a bit of a quick research. I'm not a big like composition-minded person, but I did a quick research on it. And this person was laying out, it goes from this note to this note to this note. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't realize, I knew it was hard, but I didn't realize how hard it was.
Do you mean the whole score? Or do you mean like The Wizard and I in particular?
The Wizard and I in particular.
Yeah, I didn't know how hard it was. So I love the song. We sung it for auditions, and you sing it at home and you're standing, and it's like, oh, I love this song. It's great. Defying Gravity is the hard one, right?
Yeah.
But I remember listening to the Sentimental Men podcast before starting rehearsals, and every Elphaba talks about how hard The Wizard and I is. And I'm like, interesting. They're like, it is our kryptonite. Elphaba say, I know how the show's going to go based on The Wizard and I. They changed the last note because of how difficult it is. And I was like, interesting. I wonder if that's... And now that I'm doing the show, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having that experience. And I love it. It's such a beautiful challenge to go out on that stage and basically have an 11 o'clock number as soon as the show kind of takes off. As soon as
you go. I was sitting there thinking like... Because I guess it comes with anyone who plays Elphaba, is you go, all right, let's see what you can do. And it's like that Wizard and I number, and you just go and you smash it. And everyone goes... All right, where's this good? We're in. Kind of like settle in.
But I think technique aside too, I think the most important thing about all the songs, in the show, for me at least, is not just the singing of it and the technical aspect, it's how you're telling the story.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, you can sound beautiful and you can hit a gorgeous note, but if the story of The Wizard and I, if Elphaba's joy and hope isn't translated...
And then popular as well. Like, oh my, it was so funny on opening night. Like, I was sitting there and everyone around me was laughing their heads off. It was so funny.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask with that, do you make a lot of stuff up, or is that like choreographed to a T?
Yeah, I'd make it up.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously a scaffold in terms of, you know, story plot points, but it's, you know, I think the greatest gift of this show was being given the freedom to interpret it how my Glinda would.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do things, I'm like, where'd that come from? Like, I actually don't know. And it, like, as long as the rule really is, as long as it sticks to the truth of the story and the character, you know, it all works. And I just have so much fun.
Is there a point where like you've come to the point of breaking on stage?
Oh, for sure. I actually think I naturally stopped looking at Elphaba.
Oh, right.
And so I watched a clip and I was like, I'm not really looking at Elphaba. I'm like, I'm not looking because I don't want to laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, sometimes connecting with someone makes you realize that. So then I've been really conscious to like, because, you know, you try and help each other by not laughing.
Yeah.
But I think there's a beauty that lives on the edge of needing to laugh, you know?
Because I think it was in The Music Man recently with Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster, there's a song in it where they purposefully try to see if they can get the other to break.
Yeah,
And
I try.
Yeah. It's just this playfulness. I did wonder.
There are a couple moments where, again, and the beautiful thing is Courtney never does it purely just to try and make me laugh. Like, it is from a place of being Glinda and the truth of it. So there's never a moment where I'm like, oh God. It is just pure joy and talent. So whenever she does something that's funny, I have to, like, honestly, my go-to is biting my lip.
Ah, yeah.
Because, and at least with Elphaba in that moment, if she has a little smirk, it can be interpreted in many different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but God, there was one day right before you did your little spell, you made a noise or something, and it must be hard if I break. No, you're trying not to break. Oh, it's brilliant. It's very fun.
Speaking of trying to get each other to laugh, I'd love to play my little game I've set up for you.
Yes.
So we'll see if we can try to get each other to laugh in these awfully bad Wizard of Oz wicked jokes that I've made. Okay, so take a second to whatever you need, and then whoever would like to start, go ahead. Oh no!
Okay. Well, this one's on the nose in my opinion. But why is Wicked a must-see show? Because it's one of the most popular shows there is.
Now you know who wrote that one? Liam Head.
Liam, no wonder we didn't laugh. I'm kidding.
Liam, I worry about you. Really do. Singing in the shower is fun until you get soap in your mouth. Then it's a soap opera. Did Liam write that one?
No.
Okay.
How do we know Madame Morrible was a good witch? Because she brought the house down.
No, that one's brilliant.
I'm just imagining Robin like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Only an American could have written The Wizard of Oz. Anywhere else, he'd be the Wizard of 28G.
Now, I find that very funny because Oz is in like the weight system, America versus ounces.
Oh, I don't think I'm clever enough.
28 grams. Right.
But that's funny if I was
I
clever.
thought it was, maybe it's one you need to see, like to look at.
Oh, yes.
But even then I was like
pounds and
Oh,
That's
God.
funny. That's funny. I've been trying to understand why my candle has such bad insomnia. Guess there's no rest for the wicked.
That's a red one too. These are my kind of humour because they're silly.
Because they're silly.
Best. Okay.
Not doing well.
Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz is by far the greatest character of all time. No one could hold a candle to him.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
They're good.
That's actually funny. I love that. This one's funny. I shouldn't say that because it's ruined it. How many actors does it take to change a light bulb? Only one. The rest stand around saying, it should be me up there. That's funny.
It's funny.
I'm like, yeah, I get it.
But,
especially when the bubble.
Yeah, that'd be me up there.
Okay, this one's a long one. The Wizard of Oz takes on a whole new plot when you look at it from Toto's perspective. As much as, you like that already? As much as Dorothy misses Kansas, Toto misses the rains down in Africa. That is funny.
This is a good one.
That is brilliant. And I didn't even read it fully, so it really hit me as I was reading it too.
oh,
Does it just hit you?
Just wrote this. I was like, why? He's from Kansas.
He's from Kansas as well.
Silly.
Excellent.
A classically trained performer just became a spy. I guess you could say they perform thespionage.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
It's like thespionage. I don't know.
Yeah.
This one's my favorite.
Okay.
Now, it could be the worst one, but it's for me, it's brilliant. Why did the Scarecrow get an award?
Why?
He was outstanding in his field. See? That's brilliant. And I just picture Liam getting
Scarecrow-based
away.
jokes.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
There's a moment in the show where Liam and I will say a bad joke to each other. And for opening, he got me like a dad jokes book, and we say
nice.
jokes. So I'm actually going to say these to him
Excellent.
in the show.
You feel free to take
Yes.
them. That'd be great. Well, I'd love to wrap up by just asking one question that I'm really interested, and I think I asked you the same one, so feel free to add or change your answer.
Okay.
But I'm really interested to hear what you think, Courtney. I'd love to know how you think the theatre industry's changed over the years and how those changes have impacted the work that you do and the work you participate in.
I think personally I'm so grateful for my education on the world, and especially like since COVID years, about like proper representation in shows as well as like being authentic to play a role. And I think that's made art more rich and more quality, and I think we're seeing so much more of that. And it's just it's the same as going to see Parade and watching it being authentically cast. Like it really does, I think, enrich the arts, and it's really nice. And I think also in terms of the work, like I feel like there's a lot more work in Australia as well, and there's so many more shows in different categories that people can go and see, and it's good for the actors, but it's good for the people watching it too.
Oh, yeah.
Great answer. Thank you.
Funnily enough, I was chatting to Dee, who is a lovely wiggy on our show, and our company manager, Jess, and just talking about how since COVID, how shows and companies all respect when people are unwell. It might sound like something very, very small, but I think it's quite important.
I totally agree with
that.
that.
It's like actors are humans, we're people. And I think the way the industry is shifting is we're being seen more as humans. So whether it comes to mental health days or physical sickness or injury, like I think we have a lot of time and patience for people to take their time off and get well and come back and give the best show that they can.
Yeah.
I'm finding that's really shifting personally. And also we had lovely Chloe Dallimore come in to
lovely.
Wicked. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think intimacy coordination.
Oh, that's
The
something
introduction
I
of
wanted
that.
to say. Whoever... Did she do the intimacy coordination for yours and Liam's
As long as
song?
you're
As long
mine.
as you're mine?
No. So she came in and she gave kind of these beautiful kind of groundwork. What would you say, like kind of strategies and ways to start conversations and things to empower us in the room, in the rehearsal room. So
great.
checking in, are you all green today? Like it just opens up the conversation between Liam and I, or not even Liam and I, but between Elphaba and Fiera, whoever that may be. And I'm really grateful that those things were brought into the room so that when we did As Long As You're Mine, there was that kind of open discussion, and I can always go into Liam and be like, hey, my shoulder's dodgy. I've done that before. I've been like, not that you ever really like hold on to my shoulder, but just so you know, it opens that dialogue and it's really brilliant. So I just think the introduction of intimacy coordination and just discussion around intimacy in general, it's very much needed and required, and hopefully going forward it's in all shows and film and TV. It's something I really value and I'm grateful for.
The reason I ask is because that was the best. And I was sitting there going, whoever was the intimacy coordinator for this number needs like their own applause, because it was so well done.
Yeah.
So well done. To the point where you're kind of sitting there going, I should probably look away right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. It was really well
I'm
done.
on stage in the wings like.
Liam says he can sometimes see
I
you.
know. It's because of my massive dress.
Yeah, I think it's important to build that foundation of trust. And as Courtney was saying, when you have trust, you can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when you can be vulnerable and you have that trust, you know that there's going to be an actor there to support you and be there for you. And just working in the room with Karen and Lisa, I think they have a really, really soft spot for As Long As You're Mine. And I think they really, really loved what we brought to it. Again, as all elements of this show, they weren't like, this is what we want As Long As You're Mine to be. So Liam and I brought this thing. They're like, that's what you bring. That's how we want to do it. So yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is the way it is.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Sheridan and Courtney, for coming on. I've really loved this chat, and I'm so pleased that it's going so well. I'm just excited for Melbourne and whatever comes next.
Thank you for the new jokes that I can say.
You're more than welcome. Take them with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And massive thank you to Courtney and Sheridan for joining us as our guests on this very special episode. Thank you to IP Publicity and the team at Wicked Australia for helping to organise this week's episode. Tickets for Wicked the Musical in Australia can be booked at wickedthemusical.com.au. The Sydney season runs at Sydney Lyric Theatre until Sunday the 4th of February. Wicked will play in Melbourne at the Regent Theatre from the 6th of March 2024. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon. My name's Justin Clark, and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. 'Tis I, Andrew Keenan Bulger, coming to you from the deep, dark recesses of the catacombs of Off-Broadway. My dressing room at New World Stages. This is Dracula, the Podcastula, the official companion podcast of the new Off-Broadway show, Dracula, a Comedy of Terrors. Each eerie episode, I'll be sitting down with the cast and crypt keepers, creators, for a phantom-filled foray behind the scenes. We'll be chatting about hauntingly hilarious onstage mishaps, tales of theatrical terrors, and unraveling the cobwebs of creation from the first scratch of the quill to the last blood-curdling bow. So gather round, dear listeners, turn down the lights, make sure there's garlic by your side, and brace yourself for a descent into the heart of Off-Broadway's most fantastic comedy. Sorry, down the wrong pipe. Dracula the Podcastula, wherever you find your podcast.
Hi y'all, this is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty LuPone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.